Hello, fourth grade readers, and welcome back. I'm Mrs. Lamondo here to bring you our Fontes and Pinnell mini lesson of the day. Today, we are taking a look at LA U17 Lesson 4. Last time we were together, we noticed that we can use a variety of sources to find information about a topic. Today, we're going to continue on our quest of using different sources to find information on a topic. Sometimes, when you read multiple sources about a theme or topic, you may have a big question that you want to answer. Today, let's think about this big question. How do people with disabilities overcome challenges? Let's check out a quick video about Daniel Kish. How did he overcome challenges despite having a disability?
Yeah, way too small. It's going to be...
They call me the real-life Batman. My claim to fame is that I click. There's a lot of emphasis on helping the blind in this sort of charitable way. We don't really see it as a charitable thing. We see it as just supporting citizens of society to be effective citizens. Our emphasis is in how the blind can help the world. So blind people who are able to step up to the plate choose how and what they want to achieve. They've developed themselves into something, and they've developed the world around them into something. And that is a process that is applicable to everyone.
Wow, it's amazing how Daniel uses echolocation, much like bats do, in order to navigate his environment. That's not something that everyone who is blind is able to do. So he really overcomes the challenge of not being able to see by using his senses and almost echolocation to get around. Now let's check out a few minutes of the Read Aloud 6 dots. How does Louis Braille overcome challenges despite having a disability? Remember, using multiple sources to answer a big question can help you get a clear and more accurate view of what the answer could be. People with disabilities often use other abilities to find ways to do things that would otherwise be difficult or impossible for them.
Six Dots, a story of young Louis Braille by Jen Bryant, illustrations by Boris Kulikov. On the day I was born, Papa announced me to the village. "Here is my son, Louis." The neighbours came, clucking their tongues, whispering, "Too small, he won't survive." Oh, but I did survive. I was a curious child, and my eyes studied everything. Maman's gentle face, lace draping my cradle, the smooth shape of a bread loaf on the table. I grew strong and healthy. When I rode to the baker's on my brother's broad shoulders, or fed the chickens with my sisters, the villagers waved and smiled. "So handsome," they cried. "And clever too," my sisters said. At 3, I knew everyone in Couvray by name. I counted the eggs in my sister's basket and the sparrows in the trees. I repeated stories I heard, word for word. But what I loved most was to watch Papa work. People came from far away to have a harness made or a broken bridle mended. In Papa's hands, the rough leather strips became smooth and useful. I wanted to be just like him. But when I reached for a tool, "Ne touche pas, don't touch that," Papa warned. Then, more gently, "You're too small yet, Louis. Wait till you're older. Too small, those words. I wanted to be bigger, stronger, older. Perhaps if I showed Papa what I could do. The leather was smooth. The awl was sharp. I knew just how to... Papa! 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 My life changed that day. A healer bandaged my eye. Again I heard, "Don't touch." But the band-aid itched so much. My hands, like the sparrows in the trees, were small and quick. I couldn't keep them away. I didn't mean to make things worse, but I did. The infection spread to my other eye until I could see nothing at all. No trees or sparrows, no faces, no lace or loaves of bread. By the time I turned 5, I was completely blind. The villagers whispered, "Poor Louis Braille, such a clever boy. What will happen to him now?" My world was dark and dangerous. I stumbled about the house, banging into chairs, the walls, the door. My body ached. "Where is the sun?" I cried. But the sun did not come. I sat by the window, training my ears to do what my eyes could not. Clang, bang, kish, kish. That was Papa in his shop. Swoosh, swish, swoosh, swish. Long-skirted ladies hurrying to market. Clump, 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 clump. Soldiers marching down the street. Grr, grr, ruff, ruff, grr. The neighbour's angry dog chained too tight. Alone in the dark, I knew just how he felt. My family did what they could. Papa made a wooden cane. Each day I walked a little farther. Tap, 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 tap. Counting the steps between the house and the garden. The vineyard and the chicken coop. The baker's and the miller's, and back to Papa's shop. My brother taught me to whistle. Ree, ree, ree. And when the sound echoed back, it warned me of things in my path. My sister made a straw alphabet. Papa made letters with leather strips or by pounding round-topped nails into boards. With my mum, I played dominoes, counting the dots with my fingertips. The village priest taught me to recognize trees by their touch, flowers by their scent, and birds by their song. I listened closely as he read to me from the Bible and from books of poetry. "Do you have books for blind children?" I asked. "No, Louis," the priest replied. "I'm sorry." When I was older, I went to school with the other village children. All day, as they wrote down words and numbers or read out loud from printed pages, I sat in the front row, listening and memorizing. "Do you have books for blind children?" I asked again. "No, Louis," the teacher replied. "I'm sorry." But I didn't want people to feel sorry for me. I just wanted to read and to write on my own like everyone else. The Marquis, a noble lady living nearby, heard about me. She wrote a letter to the Royal School for the Blind, asking if I could study there. Finally, a reply came. "Bienvenue. Welcome, Louis." "The priest says they have books for the blind," I told Papa excitedly. "But you're only 10, Mama cried. "And you'll live there most of the year," my brother added. "Paris is a big city, far, far away," my sisters warned. How could I make them understand? Without books, I would always be poor Louis Braille. I would always be held back like that dog chained too tight. "I love you," I told them, "but I must go." I didn't need my eyes to know that the Royal School in Paris was not a palace. My hard bed was in a damp, crowded room. My uniform itched. My meals were small and cold. My teachers were strict. The older boys teased and stole. How I missed my home. And yet I stayed. I stayed because somewhere in this old mouldy building there were books for the blind. Only the best students are allowed to read them, my friend Gabrielle told me. "Then I will be one of the best," I replied. Learning at the blind school was almost like learning in Couvray. We sat and listened. We memorized and recited. We also had music lessons and made slippers in the workshop. As my fingers flew across the organ keys or between the strips of cloth, I dreamed of reading and writing. I worked and studied as hard as I could. Finally, it was that day. A guide led me to the library. "Asseye u isi, sit here," he commanded. There was shuffling, grunting, and scraping. A thud. "Voila! There it is," he said. "Just trace the raised letters with your fingers." It was a long reach to the top of page 1. My fingers traced the outline of each letter, just as I'd done in Couvray with straw and leather. But these waxy letters were huge. After reading the first sentence this way, my hand was halfway down the page. A few more sentences and I had to turn the page. A few more sentences, 2 more pages, and then the end. "C'est tout? Is that all?" I asked. "There are more," the guide replied, "but they're just like this one. Words as large as my hand, sentences that took up half a page." I sighed. Even if I read 100 books like this, how much could I learn?
So obviously we see Louis Braille had a challenge. He desperately wanted to read. He was blind. The books that he had access to for a blind person, the words took up half the pages. He just didn't feel like it was something that was manageable. What we ultimately know is that Louis Braille created the Braille system of the blind, where it's a series of raised dots based in Morse code that allow people who are blind to read. So we saw 2 different ways that people overcome challenges. Remember that you can use lots of different resources when trying to find the answer to a big question you might have. All right, 4th grade readers, that's all for today. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to check in with your teacher, and I'll see you next time. Bye.